everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm here with a guest host today. I'm Stephanie, of course, but we have someone filling in for Tom. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit, Jacob?
Hi, I'm Jacob, and it's great to be back here with you all. Very excited to talk about, well, some food, right?
Yay. Food units are always my favorite. Yeah. I'm usually here doing English Digest, and I haven't eaten yet. And so I'm always thinking about what I'm going to eat when we get finished.
Yes.
So here's the question for everybody today. Have a sweet tooth? Try waffles. So sometimes we'll be more casual in our questions. No, I don't really have a sweet tooth. I would say I enjoy sweets, every once in a while. I love salt. And if someone gave me a choice between like corn chips or potato chips and a donut, I would go with the chips.
Wow.
What about you?
Probably the donut.
Really?
But it depends because I love both.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a really big sweet tooth. I don't know if you kind of pick that up or if that comes from your parents or why you get a sweet tooth. But no, I definitely have a pretty serious sweet tooth.
I do like donuts, but half of the reason I like donuts is because they're deep fried.
Okay.
I adore deep fried food.
And potato chips then are deep fried as well, right?
It's terrible. I love French fries. I mean, oh my goodness. Yeah, but I like mashed potatoes too. All the stuff that's not really very healthy for me. So we're going to talk about waffles today. Waffles are a great food. I've seen waffles here in Taiwan as well. Have you had a waffle since you've been living in Taiwan?
Well, yeah, because we have a waffle maker at home.
Oh, cool.
So you can make that for breakfast. And then you also notice that there are some stores, some shops popping up that specialize in these waffles.
Yeah, waffles are great. They're very crispy. We're going to talk more about them, even a little history behind them. But first, as we always do, we're going to read through today's unit.
A smooth pat of butter slowly melts in small hollows while you spoon maple syrup onto a warm plate of berry-covered Belgian waffles. As the syrup gently coats your toasted treat, you reach for your fork, ready for your first bite of heaven. If this description made your mouth water, you're probably a big waffle fan. This delicious dessert, known for its pockets that are perfect for collecting powdered sugar, syrup, and butter, has a long history. Waffles can be traced back to the ancient Greeks, who were the first to roast flat cakes between metal plates. These obelios consisted of flour mixed with milk or water, and sometimes eggs. With such minimal ingredients and a flat shape, obelios were much different from the waffle we know today. It's believed that the first waffle iron, with a distinct grid pattern, appeared in the Netherlands in the 15th century. It was around this time that spices, honey, and butter started appearing in waffle recipes. Leavening ingredients, such as yeast, were also added, making waffles thicker and fluffier. From there, the waffle's popularity spread across Europe and eventually to the US. It's thanks to this global expansion that we can now enjoy several varieties of waffles. The Brussels waffle is often served as a dessert. It may be topped with whipped cream, sugar, or chocolate sauce. The American waffle is similar to this, but isn't quite as thick. The Liege waffle is round, dense, and covered in a coat of caramelized sugar. It's often flavored with vanilla or cinnamon. It's not hard to see why waffles are beloved by so many. Besides being easy to whip up, they do double duty as both a dessert and a breakfast item. Plus, with their pockets, they're the perfect vessel for transporting a load of tempting toppings into our eager mouths.
Oh boy. Am I hungry?
Sounds like it, yeah.
Now, the first paragraph really paints a wonderful picture for me. It says here, a smooth pat of butter slowly melts in small hollows. while you spoon maple syrup onto a warm plate of berry-covered Belgian waffles. Yum!
Perfect.
We often use this word pat. It's a measure word for butter. Just a little small, flat, usually a square piece of something, particularly butter. Oh, I just want a pat of butter. If you go to nice hotels, especially if you're in Europe or even the States, they'll often have little packages, little pats of butter that you can unwrap and put on something that you're eating. So waffles have these little squares typically that are baked into the batter. And it's a wonderful place just to have a little bit of goodness inside. I love butter too.
Sure.
I mentioned I like salt, but I like butter as well. Okay, so let's talk about waffles. Just so you know, guys, there's a similarity between pancakes, which are松饼, and waffles, but pancakes are smooth, whereas waffles have little tiny squares usually on the top, and they're a little crispier.
That's
although
true.
I try to make my pancakes crispy as well. So I prefer waffles if I have a choice. But you need a typical waffle iron or a special waffle iron to produce those little squares. So let's take a look here. You've got small hollows. Those are little empty spaces. And maple syrup or syrup, it's pronounced two ways, syrup or syrup. It's a sweet, thick liquid. It's made from this liquid that they take from maple trees, which is very sweet. Then they add sugar to it, but it's yummy. And you can often put different toppings on these waffles. We'll talk about that. Here we're describing a plate of berry-covered Belgian waffles. Belgian is the adjective form for the country of Belgium with an M at the end. So you just switch out the M and put an N, and that's the adjective form. Belgian waffles are very famous. They're delicious. But we'll continue on talking about this. I think we're going to come back to Belgian waffles towards the end. So as the syrup gently coats or makes that layer on top of your toasted treat, you reach for your fork, ready for your first bite of heaven, and my mouth is watering right now, meaning I'm all ready to eat that waffle. Yum!
That's the great thing about a waffle is they have those little hollows or that kind of part where you can put the little fruit or the butter or the syrup, and you want to make sure that you have a little bit of each in each little hollow part of the of the waffle. Okay, so so this description, it made Stephanie's mouth water. It's making my mouth water. That's when you have... That's when you want to eat something and actually the saliva, S-A-L-I-V-A, or the liquid in your mouth starts to get you ready to eat. Your mouth is watering, you're hungry. And so then, you're a big waffle fan. Okay, so it's a delicious dessert. Known for its pockets. Okay, so this is what I just talked about. These little pockets are perfect for collecting things. It could be powdered sugar, syrup, butter, and even maybe blueberries. I love putting blueberries on my waffles.
That's delicious.
That's one of my favorite things,
This is described as being a delicious dessert, known for its pockets. Yeah, we would often eat waffles when I was growing up for dinner at nighttime, because it was such a treat.
Waffles for dinner?
Yeah, well, it takes a little longer to make waffles, and so when I got up in the morning to go to school, we would eat cereal, which is really fast. Sometimes I didn't eat any breakfast. But it's got those wonderful little pockets or hollows that can collect really yummy things like powdered sugar, that white sugar that we use, especially in icing or that part we put on the top of cakes. Syrup, butter, yummy. We're going to talk about the history now, though. Where do waffles come from originally? Well, it says here waffles can be traced back to the ancient Greeks, who were the first to roast flat cakes between metal plates. If you've seen a waffle iron, that's the tool we use to make waffles even today, you know that you're looking at metal plates on the bottom and the top, both. That's why waffles are so delicious and crispy. If you can trace something back to something, it just means you can follow something back to its beginning or its origin. I can trace my family history all the way back to 1000 AD. That's the truth, too. One part of my family has 祖先. It goes all the way back to 1000 AD.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. My dad's side, no. But my mom's side kept really good records. So, yeah, you can trace something back. Here we're saying waffles actually can be traced back to the ancient Greeks. Now, they just had roast flat cakes, but they did use what we're calling as metal plates. And what was the name for these back then? They had their own special name.
I called them obelios, but I'm not Greek, nor do I speak Greek. But what it sounds like is almost a pancake. Instead of using a frying pan, you use sort of like a flat waffle iron.
Kind of like a panini?
Maybe, yeah. So you can kind of see the connection between these things. So yeah, these flat cakes. And it continues here. It says these obelios consisted of or were made up of flour mixed with milk or water and sometimes eggs. So it was a very simple kind of thing. Here we're talking about the ingredients, okay? So when a dish consists of something or when food consists of something, we're talking about what it's made up of or what the ingredients are. So the ingredients in an obelios are, again, flour, milk, water, and sometimes eggs. That sounds like the ingredients for a waffle, right?
Yeah, it sounds like the same kind of batter. Batter is the liquid form of the cake. It sounds the same as today's pancakes and waffles. I use the same batter for pancakes and waffles.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Although I put a little bit extra oil in the waffles so they get crispier. That's just a little secret. You can try it. I wanted to mention here, to consist of also can be used as for things like your wardrobe. My wardrobe consists mainly of very cool clothes. I don't want to be hot in Taiwan. Even the winter isn't very cold for me. So my wardrobe consists mainly of very cool clothes. I hardly ever wear long sleeves. So you can use it for other things besides food. You could say coal consists of mostly carbon. But yeah, it sounds just like the batter we use today, actually. Although we may add some unique stuff they didn't have back then.
Right. With some minimal ingredients. Okay, minimal means very simple or basic and a flat shape. Okay, so again, the waffle is, waffle, we talk about having these pockets, but these obelios had a flat shape, and they were much different from the waffle we know today. Okay, so I can see some similarities, but again, the signature pockets or hollows are what's missing. And that's what makes a waffle, right?
Yeah, right.
Otherwise, it's just kind of a pancake.
Right. Although their pancakes were probably crispier than ours are because they had the metal part on the top and the bottom,
right,
which always improves crispiness, you could say. We're going to take a quick break, guys. Listen to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll be back to continue talking about the delicious waffle.
大家好，我是林老师。Unit 8是篇章结构这种题型的解题技巧，内容跟松饼有关，希望大家在享受美食之余，也能了解它背后的故事。好，我们一起进入课文，还是先从标题看起。Have a sweet tooth？ 大家喜欢吃甜食、甜点吗？ If you have a sweet tooth, you like eating sweet foods such as candies and chocolate bars. 所以，如果爱吃甜的人，在英文里就会说这个人 have a sweet tooth。既然喜欢吃甜点，那就千万不能错过松饼。我们看到第一段，眼前一盘暖乎乎的比利时松饼，上面覆盖着莓果。当你舀起枫糖浆倒在上面，一小块滑顺的奶油缓缓地融化在小小凹洞里。读到这个句子，大家是否觉得好有画面？巴不得马上送入嘴里。Be ready for your first bite of heaven. 味觉的享受让人宛如置身天堂。文章作者在第二段里猜测，如果第一段的叙述让你口水直流，你可能就很爱吃松饼。请注意这里的 water 是不及物动词，流口水的意思。还有一个复合形容词是 mouth watering， 用来形容看起来就很好吃的食物，让人不禁口水直流。比方说 To support local farmers, My mom baked many mouth-watering pies with locally grown bananas. 为了支持在地农民，我妈妈用当地生产的香蕉做了很多让人垂涎三尺的派。现在我们一起来回填文章当中挖空的5个句子。在开始解题前，老师想跟大家强调，篇章结构最重要的就是回填的句子要和前后文连贯，在文意概念上承先启后，请大家谨记前后连贯、文意通顺这8字真言。好，我们现在看到第一题，空格后一句出现关键字 Waffles can be traced back to the ancient Greeks. 松饼可以追溯到古希腊人， be traced back to 是回溯的意思，可推知空格应与松饼的历史相关，而选项 C 里头就有 history 历史这个字。说到 This delicious dessert has a long history， 可以开启后面的 be traced back 回溯，而 This delicious dessert 又接上一句 waffle， 把选项 C 回填到第一格，文意连贯通顺。第二个空格是段落最后一句，前一句就显得相当关键。前一句说明 Obilios 是由面粉混合牛奶或水组成，有时还会有鸡蛋，可推知空格与 Obilios 与或其原料相关。我们发现选项 A 提到 Obilios 和我们今天所知道的松饼 Waffle 大不相同，延续说明前一句的 These Obilios。此外 such minimum ingredients 所指的应该就是前一句的面粉混合牛奶或水和鸡蛋，也承接上一句的语义。第二格填入选项 A， 文意连贯，所以选 A。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. Let's go ahead and move on to the third paragraph. Go ahead, Jacob.
It's believed that the first waffle iron with a distinct grid pattern appeared in the Netherlands in the 15th century. Okay, so the Greeks were a little bit before this, and the Netherlands in the 15th century. So that's what, the 1400s still, 600 years ago, right?
Wow.
So again, it's a long history here. And this waffle iron, or the tool that we use to make waffles, it had a distinct or special. Okay, so something that's distinct is you see it and you know right away what it is. It's very special, particular, you might say, or distinct grid pattern. Okay, so a grid is kind of like squares, right? So lines that together make squares, and that is when you think of a waffle, waffles can be, sometimes they're circle or sometimes they're square, but they always have this sort of grid pattern. And so the first one can be traced back to the Netherlands in the 15th century.
Wow, that was a long time ago. You can describe things as being distinct if they are very easily noticeable. For example, I could say, we have a friend, Jacob and I have a friend who has a very distinct British accent. You can totally tell this guy's from Great Britain and not America or even Canada. A very distinct something. So something that's easy to see, hear, smell, feel. It's very particular, as Jacob said.
Stinky tofu has a distinct smell.
Oh my goodness, doesn't it though?
Yeah, you know, right? You know, if you walk by a even before you get there, if you're about, 50 meters away and you start to smell it, you're like, you know what that is right away.
There was one in my neighborhood, and every time I walk by, I know it's still there. So the 15th century was quite a while ago, the 1400s. It was around this time that spices, honey, and butter started appearing in waffle recipes. So people started getting kind of creative and adding different ingredients. Now, leavening ingredients like yeast were also added and that made the waffles thicker and fluffier. Leavening is a word we use when we're talking about a substance that makes the dough rise. Maybe you're making bread. If you put yeast in it, yeast is a leavening agent or a way to leaven something. It makes that dough become bigger. And it just makes it lighter and fluffier. So it would have made them really kind of light, fluffy, easier to eat probably at that point. You know, they didn't have yeast in bread long ago, and their bread was very heavy.
And flatbread, does that not have a lot of yeast in it maybe? Is that why it's called flatbread?
I'm not sure. I don't make flatbreads, but it could, yeah. There are some breads we still don't add yeast to even today. They're not as fluffy. When you say something's fluffy, guys, it just usually it means it's quite light, but you can use it to talk about soft material or soft substance. Like kittens have a very fluffy type of fur on their bodies. It's really soft. Or maybe you want to beat your eggs until they're fluffy. I have fluffy pillows on my sofa. So it can be light and soft. We describe clouds as being fluffy. So it's quite fluffy. And back then, the leavening, the yeast that they added just made those waffles thicker and fluffier.
From there, meaning the Netherlands, so from there, the waffle's popularity spread across Europe and eventually to the US. Okay, so it was first popular in the Netherlands and then it spread, okay? So if something is popular, of course, it is widely known and also widely liked or enjoyed. Okay, so popularity is the noun form of the adjective popular. Okay, so it spread across Europe and eventually to the US, where Stephanie and I are from. And, of course, we grew up loving waffles.
Oh, yeah.
It's thanks to this global expansion or spreading out, okay? Expansion is a noun. The verb would be to expand. If something expands, like you can think of when you blow up a balloon, the balloon will get bigger and bigger. It will be expanding. And so the expansion is the same idea. Think of something getting bigger or spreading out. So it's thanks to this that we can now enjoy several varieties or types of waffles.
Now, the Brussels waffle is often served as a dessert. Brussels is the capital of the country of Belgium. Remember we talked about the Belgian waffle? Now we're talking about the capital city of the country, Belgium. It is often served as a dessert, or it's just a treat on the street. When I was there, I just would always see those Belgian waffles being sold on the street. Oh, they were so good. You can top them with whipped cream, sugar, or chocolate sauce. The American waffle is similar to this, but isn't quite as thick. Now, the Liege waffle, Liege is another city in Belgium. It's round, dense, and covered in a coat of caramelized sugar. Oh, it's so good. It's often flavored with vanilla or cinnamon. Those are types of spices. So if you describe something as being dense, guys, things are very close together. Maybe you've been to the jungle before. You'll notice that everything, the trees, the plants are very dense. It's hard to see through anything. Here, the waffles are very dense. They're not very fluffy. I think they're very thick, though. They're covered in a coat of caramelized sugar. Caramelized sugar just means sugar that's been browned until it turns into caramel or caramel, as some people pronounce it. And cinnamon is a type of spice that's very popular in Indian food in particular, and we often use it in our desserts.
It's not hard to see why waffles are beloved by so many. Okay, if something is beloved, it means, well, loved. Okay, so L-O-V-E-D, beloved. You might also see this word as a noun. You can say, my beloved. Beloved. It's spelled the same way, but at the end, instead of beloved, we say beloved. It kind of has a different sound at the end when it's used as a noun to describe someone that you love very much, my beloved. Besides being easy to whip up, so if you whip something up, it means make quickly. They do double duty as both a dessert and a breakfast item. A double duty would be to serve two purposes or to have two jobs. So one thing that you could use for waffles, you could have them as a dessert. So that's one duty that they have. So a dessert, or you can have them for breakfast. That's the other sort of job or purpose they can serve. They do double duty.
They do triple duty in my house because we would eat them for dinner as well. So, yeah, they're wonderful. Plus, with their pockets, remember those hollows? They're the perfect vessel or container for transporting a load of tempting toppings into our eager mouths. Tempting is our last vocabulary word. Tempting is something that gives you a strong desire to eat something, to do something, to have something. Something that's really tempting to me happened to be donuts or waffles, as I talked about, or even French fries or potato chips. They're very tempting to me. I shouldn't eat them, but sometimes I give in to the temptation.
You can't resist.
I can't resist. Or maybe you've gotten a job offer that was very tempting, something that really made you want to take it. Well, we hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about waffles. We've got our Chinese teacher who's going to explain a little bit more, and then we'll be back to say goodbye.
文章到了第3段，开始告诉我们，松饼具有代表性的网格造型，首度出现是在15世纪的荷兰。段落结尾告诉我们，由于全球扩张，我们现在可以享受不同种类的松饼。我们就看看结尾句子前的第3格到底是什么句子，可以让第3段顺利的做这个文意发展。空格后下面的一句有个解题关键词语 This global expansion 扩张到全球各地，大家要特别注意，如果空格后的句子出现了 this， 这就是一条非常重要的线索，表示前面的句子可以视为什么，归类为什么。在这个段落里，就是说空格的句子可以视为全球扩张。那么哪个选项有全球扩张的意味呢？应该是选项 B。从那之后，松饼风行了整个欧洲，最终到了美国。第4个空格所在的第4段，段落写作技巧很明显，就是承接着上一段的 Varieties of Waffles。第4段先给了布鲁塞尔松饼当例子，第2个则是美式松饼。那么我们自然会期待第4个空格是第3种类的松饼。哪个句子在介绍松饼种类呢？选项 D 介绍Liege Waffle 烈日松饼，说明此种松饼圆而厚实，并覆盖着一层焦糖。最后一段说明松饼受人喜爱的原因。先说第一，容易制作；又说第二，因为可以当甜点，也适合当早餐。如果填入剩下的选项 F 当第3个原因。此外，松饼有了网格，就成为完美的容器，可以把许多诱人的配料送入我们饥渴的口中。文意通顺，前后连贯，毫无违和。今天篇章结构的解题说明到此结束，请记得解题的关键就是前后连贯，文意通顺，这8字真言，请谨记在心。I'll see you next time. Bye bye.
That's all the time we have for today, guys. Thanks so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed learning more about waffles. For English Digest, I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Jacob.
See ya.
Bye-bye.